All right. Happy New Year again. We are, since it is New Year, we are going to talk about new. And what is new, and besides the year. I think the one takeaway is that new equals freedom. New equals freedom. And if we can remember that and apply it to ourselves and give it to others, I think it works in the terms of what Jesus taught. It's not always easy. Because freedom is easy to take, it's not so easy to give. And so our goal today is to get to a point where we understand it not only in ourselves, in the context of our church, but in the context of our friendships and families. And so we're going to start with 2 Corinthians 5, verse 14 on your paper. And this is Paul writing to the Corinthian church, and it says, either way, meaning whatever you want to put before that, whatever you want to argue about, and intentions, motivations, applications, any of those things, either way of your argument, Christ's love controls us. Since we believe that Christ died for all, we also believe that we have all died to our old life. He died for everyone so that those who receive his new life will no longer live for themselves. Instead, they will live for Christ, who died and was raised for them. So we have stopped evaluating others from a human point of view. At one time, we thought of Christ merely from a human point of view. How differently we know him now. This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old is gone, and a new life has begun. And it couldn't be put any more simply than that. If you believe in Jesus, if you believe that Jesus rose from the dead, that's different. It's never been available to anybody before Jesus, obviously, because he had risen from the dead. But it's available to you now as a belief system that affects your brain. You are a new person. You have a new thought. You have a new inspiration. You have a new motivation inside of you that you can get from nowhere else except from Jesus and the Spirit that he gives you. He rose from the dead. And because of that, you logically will not judge people from a strictly human point of view. And what's meant by a human point of view is where you judge a person by what they wear. That's human way of looking at things. We no longer do that. We don't judge a person by how they speak. We don't judge a person by the sports team they root for. Except Indiana, of course. We don't judge people by human points of view, what they look like, the color of their skin, the country they come from. Any of those things, they don't apply to the way we judge people. And we used to judge Jesus like that. We used to look at Jesus and see, does he align with what I know is true? Does he align with me? Instead of me trying to align with him. But we don't do that anymore. We realize that we are new. That's part of what following Jesus is. We evaluate the world in a different way. We don't take the world's values into evaluating other people. We have a new identity. In Ephesians 2, which I have here, it says, "For Christ himself has brought peace to us. He united Jews and Gentiles into one people, and as his own body on the cross, he broke down the wall of hostility that separated us. He did this by ending the system of law with its commandments and regulations. He made peace between Jews and Gentiles by creating in himself one new humanity from two groups. Together as one body, Christ reconciled both groups to God by means of his death on the cross, and our hostility toward each other was put to death." Hey, Luke, stop. Luke likes to cough a lot. That's my son. Don't worry, if you have a cough, I'm going to, hey, stop. No, you don't have to. He's good. See, what you do when you believe in Jesus, this is what happens. I'm his dad. You know, I can do that. What happens is when you believe in Jesus, you actually enter into a new humanity. It's not, the way the world was divided back when this was written, is the Jews were the promised group. The Jews were God's people, and then everybody else was Gentiles. And so you only have two groups of people from a Jewish point of view, which is this is written from. It's the Jews, and then it's everybody else. And so what Jesus did was he took the Jews and everybody else, and he created for himself, there's a new group of people now. And you're part of it. That's why you're not connected to the world's values. The arguments of the world don't affect you. They can affect you, and they might affect you, but the identities that are trying to be given to you by the world in terms of whatever value it is, don't apply to you. Your truest identity is that you believe in Jesus, and you believe in the dictates that he taught. You believe in love and mercy and forgiveness. Thankfulness. So you're a new person, you're in a new humanity. You have a new identity, and we evaluate this from new. And it says in 1 Corinthians 2:16b, it says, we understand these things, for we have the mind of Christ. This is another new aspect of believing in Jesus. And the problem is that we have a mind of Christ, we are new people. This is what new looks like. It says up here that he ended the system of the law with its commandments and regulations. We have the mind of Christ. And so you go, well, how can we live without laws and commandments? And in the world, you can't. You've got to have a law that says stop at a red light. So that when I have a green light, I can proceed through semi-hopeful that the guy coming the other way is going to stop. You need laws, you need organization. But when you follow Jesus, you don't need that anymore because you are compelled by the love that Jesus has given you. In fact, if you make a law in a church, you can't wear blue shoes. That's just unholy. So the church has made a law, I can't wear blue shoes. In that situation, all you're doing is robbing the people in the church of the decision-making process whether or not to wear blue shoes. And when you follow Jesus, it's you and your new heart and your new mind and your new following that eliminates the need for laws. You are now compelled by the love of Jesus. You're not compelled by an outside force. So anytime you tell somebody, you can't wear your hair like that, you're robbing them of the decision-making process to let them wear the hair the way they want to. And if you attach some kind of righteousness to the way they wear their hair, in effect, you're telling them, you're robbing them of the righteousness of wearing their hair that way. Luckily, there is no righteousness, or I'd be on luck. Do you know what I mean? Anytime you try to come down with a religious rule on somebody, you rob them of the dignity of making a decision by themselves to follow Jesus. You must give this amount of money. No, decide for yourselves. That's what following Jesus is. You don't let somebody tell you. You're a member of Jesus' body now. And he says, give what you feel. Work with me. Have a relationship with me. What is the Holy Spirit telling you to give? If you believe the narrative on the TV or the television, this person is bad because they believe this. You're letting them rob you of your ability to figure out that they're lying and that all people are equal. We don't subject ourselves to the world's values anymore. We don't subject ourselves to the world's discernment. We don't subject ourselves to any of that. We follow Jesus. We are all equal. And we work for the peace that comes from that. That's new. Not many religions back when Jesus was coming were just going to let you roll into church and say what you want and do what you want and wear what you want. and be, unified to serve. It's you do what the pastor, and not me, you do what the leader of the church says. You eat this, you think this, you talk this, you wear this. Jesus said, no. No, no, no. You're all capable of living righteously. You're all capable of deciding to help other people. When it says up there that we've died to our old life, and it says, whoever receives Jesus as new life will no longer live for themselves. You all know what that means in the context of your life. I don't have to tell you. I'm telling you what Jesus said. If Jesus came and he said, I didn't come to be served, I came to serve. That's new for a king. That's new for a president. That's new. Anybody in the world who's at the top of the game and the top of their government or whatever they have, he's there to be served. He's there to be served. So we understand that because we have the mind of Christ in us. And here's the temptation. The temptation is not to acknowledge that we're new. Because the fact is that we're in the old. It says in 2 Corinthians 4, therefore do not lose heart. Don't give up on this path, this fight for righteousness. Don't let the world beat you down. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light momentary troubles are achieving for us eternal glory that will far outweigh them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. And that's one of the things as we travel with the old. Everyone thinks that when new comes, old disappears. In this world, old and new are together. Like it just said, don't give up. Even though this body of yours is losing its hair and wasting away, you're getting older, and there's things you fall, you're hurt. People don't do what you expect them to do, and it hurts yourself. Even though that happens, don't give up, because what you see is leaving, is gone. You have to have the ability to see what is not seen, to see beyond the behavior, to see beyond the clothes, to see beyond the pain and the anger and the frustration. See how people are trying to play you, so you can get rid of that, so you can live for Jesus. That's new. That's new. It was never available anywhere else. Never available anywhere else. Not before Jesus came and died. You aligned with somebody, so you had a label on yourself, so you could feel good about yourself. When Jesus came, he said, no, you feel good about me, and I'm going away, and now you have a spirit to live by. Which is what this is. It's a spirit-driven life. Jesus says that God is looking for those who will worship him in spirit and in truth. The ability to see beyond a person. The ability to see beyond yourself so you don't criticize yourself to death. To give yourself grace. To understand that Jesus forgives you so you can accept that forgiveness. To understand the mercy that he gave you so you can accept you're going to make mistakes. You're going to run into walls. You're going to do all those things. But that doesn't define you. That's new. That's new. And not only do you have that for yourself, but do you have the ability to forgive other people, to show mercy to other people. That's what this is. That's the gospel. That's the good news. The temptation is always to identify the world by the old. To identify the world by false values. Money. I have a lot of money, so I must be blessed. Not saying you are or you aren't. The bad is, if you have a lot of money and you think you're better than someone who doesn't have a lot of money. That's the problem. That's the problem. Or whatever. Whatever defines you, where you think you can separate yourself from everybody else, that's a problem. Because we're all the same. We're all human. And the world's after all of us. They got their hands in all our pockets. And so, today we're celebrating, which is a weird word to use, Jesus' death. But this is the death that ushered in what they call the new covenant, the new agreement between God and man. And in Jeremiah, you find out exactly what the new covenant is. It says, the day is coming, says the Lord, says God, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and Judah. And there will be a new understanding between humanity and life. Israel and Judah, it says. This covenant will not be like the last one I made with the ancestors when I took them by the hand and brought them out of the land of Egypt. They broke that covenant, though I loved them as a husband loves his wife, says God. But this is the new covenant I will make with the people of Israel after those days, says God. I will put my instructions deep within them, and I will write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. This is life by the Spirit. This is life by the Spirit. I know better now that my flash Irish anger isn't always good to vent on people when they don't do what I want them to do. But good luck when I was younger controlling that thing. I know we're all equal. But do I always say and act in that manner? I know that Jesus is the King. I know I'm a servant. But man, sometimes I just want to be served. You know, I know I'm being diverted. I know I'm being lured into an argument when I know in my mind that the argument is the reason that they're putting these things out there. It doesn't matter what side it is. The argument is the key because then you become distracted. You stop loving. And there is a place for good discourse amongst people who care. That's 100% life. Figuring it out with the person at a table. But at this table, where we care for others more than we care for ourselves, what's best for our church? Not what's best for me. What's best for our community? What's best for, you can keep going on and on, but then it gets more and more bizarre. If we could just keep it down to what's best for our family and our community and our church, I think that would be good enough to start with. Once we figure that out, then we'll go save the world. But that's what the new covenant is. When Jesus' death instituted that now God's laws are written on your heart. It says that God poured his love into your heart, so that you have the ability to love people. And in fact, that's the strongest way to engage each other. But it's hard to believe. It's way easier just to slice them up with a good rip, a good meme on Facebook, or a good Twitter post. When someone posts something, it's come back and jab them, because the world's going to read that. And what up there, I put this in because it says he's making a new covenant with the people of Israel and Judah, and I am not a citizen of Israel and Judah by birth. I'm from Ireland. And so, if you look at Romans 2, Paul puts that into a category. He says, true Jew, you're not a true Jew just because you were born to Jewish parents or you've gone through the ceremonies that are associated with that. A true Jew is one whose heart is right with God. That's what a category of a Jew is. It's someone whose heart was right with God. True circumcision is not merely obeying the letter of the law. It's a change of heart produced by the Spirit. That's a new heart. It says that you have a heart of stone, and now I'm giving you a heart of flesh. And so while the categories are, heart, stone, and flesh are not the same thing, it's a brand new heart. And a person with a changed heart seeks praise from God and not from people. And unfortunately, for the human side of us, praise from God looks like this. He praised Jesus for sacrificing himself. He praised Jesus for the giving of himself. He praised Jesus because Jesus thought enough of you. It's what Rob said. Jesus didn't think that being God was enough to stop him from coming to earth and dying for us so that we could have this new way of life. And that's the good way. That's new. And we're about to do this when we have communion. Luke 22. It's after the supper, he took another cup of wine, and Jesus said, "This cup is the new covenant between God and his people, an agreement confirmed with my blood, which is poured out as a sacrifice for you." This is what he was talking about. He was talking about Jeremiah. He was talking about all the other things. This is the agreement now, that as you serve, and you are patient, and you are kind, you will feel the validation of life that we're all searching for in a million different ways. You will feel the identity, and that is new. So we're going to take communion now. And I don't know who's doing communion, but I'm sure they're going to walk up and sit here while I go sit down.